Hey guys, Marmalade here. Thanks for joining me. I am in a very busy, loud public place. I do have a noise canceling microphone, so we'll see if that works, but I apologize if there's background noise. I'm right next to a playground with screaming kids, but it is a Saturday, so that's what I get. So I put this video together called 8 Tips to Get Your Gear, your backpacking gear lighter and more compact. So I have preached forever that for me it's two things. Of course, we want to get lighter with our backpacking gear, but for me it's also the physical size of it. So when you see these 8 tips, it'll either be to get lighter, to get smaller, or both. And if you stay to the very end, I have 2 bonus tips, so you'll get 10 today. So let's get started right away so this video isn't too long. I am going to use my notes to look down from time to time because there's a lot of, I've weighed everything to give you an example of what my gear weighs. And we'll start off with a cook kit. So most of us cook. This last year when I did the PCT for 2 months, when I did a little over 900 miles, I attempted to do no cooking and cold soaking and just eating like wraps and things like that. Tortillas with meat and cheese. That part I like, but I miss having a hot meal. So from now on, I will be cooking unless it's like a really quick overnighter. But just to give you an example, I have this one at car camp, but a lot of people on trail bring the jet boil. You can see this is my kit now, but it's physically, see the difference in size. I've left the fuel canisters out so you can just weigh just the cook kits themselves. When I weighed them, this without fuel is 11.3 ounces and about almost twice as big as my cook kit now. This one is 6.5, so 11.3 versus 6.5. And in here I just have my fuel canister. I have my fold up, my Soto Amicus stove. I have a mini Bic lighter and some hot lips, or that kind of silicone lip thing you put on the edge of here if your pot's hot and you want to drink hot coffee or tea or whatever. So that's all it is. So I think it's almost half the weight and almost half the size. So keep that in mind, or think about it. All right, guys, here's a tip you'll almost never see or have never heard about, and it took me a long time to learn. My first year when I started the PCT in 19, I'm a very organized and planned person. I had a stuff sack for everything, and I had different colors so that I could quickly know, where my water kit was, where my bathroom stuff was. The problem with that is you end up with about 30 bags in your bag of stuff. So even though you know what's in each one, you have to physically touch all that, and every time you want to get anything, you have to open a bag. Sometimes they don't want to open easily, and the other bag's in the way, so you got to take them out, you got to put them back in. So I've, as over the years, the last 5 years finishing the PCT, I've become more of a minimalist, and this is some of the bags I used to bring. Oh, there's even more in there. And this bag. This is a one to blow up your mattress, but you can see all these. So this may not look like a lot, but this is stuff you have to touch every single time. I weighed them all, including this bag. It was 1 pound 4 ounces. So now, I have a couple bags I use for my water kit because I have multiple loose things and I want it to be all in one place. I have one ditty bag that has a Ziploc, which I'll show you later, has my first aid kit, has my poop kit, and then it has my electronics bag. They all fit in there, and that way, and I have it on the outside pouch of my pack so that on trail during the day, those are things I would touch. So it's on the outside, but they're all in Ziploc bags inside one ditty bag. So like even I'll give you an example of what I do where I don't need a bag anymore. 2 things. My quilt goes in the bottom of my pack. I have a plastic trash compactor bag as my liner. So the backpack is pretty waterproof, but between that and the bag, my stuff is going to stay dry. I just stuff my quilt in there. I used to have a stuff sack. It's right here actually. And I don't do that anymore. I have it in there loose, and it actually gained me a lot of space in my pack, not having it hard in a sack. The other thing I don't do with a bag is I don't use the bag for my air mattress. There's absolutely no reason for it. It's protected in your pack. I fold it up into a rectangle so it fits in my pack perfectly. When I use a frameless pack, I put it against my back to help from pokey things in my pack not hitting me in the back, so it's softer. But yeah, just keep that in mind, and less bags is more, trust me. All right, my third tip is, you've heard that saying, we all pack for our fears. When I started, and even kind of to this day, I always packed too much clothes and too much food. I'm much, much better about it. But my third tip is to learn how to layer properly so you're not bringing clothes that you barely or ever touch. I did that forever. It took me a long time, and I'll give you an example of my layers. I'm incorporating a new layer actually in there right now. So, but this is my it's believe it or not, it's washed, but it looks dirty. But I'm not wearing it anymore. But this is my shirt, my sun hoodie, has a hood there, you see, that I wore for 2 months and almost 1,000 miles last summer. But that's a sun hoodie. That's my shirt now. It helps with SPF and just keeping the sun off me. If it's cold in the morning, it takes the edge off when I start hiking. So sun hoodie, think about that. Something new that's in my arsenal is a Senchi hoodie. I've used it on 2 trips, and so far I like it. It's very thin. You can almost see through it. I don't know if you can see through it on that. It's got a hood also. I've slept in this 2 nights out in the desert, and it's been great. But that is a very thin layer, and they make this is the Senchi 60. They make an 80 and 90, which are thicker. But I run hot, so I didn't get the thicker. This is also a double extra large, and it only weighs 4.7 ounces. I haven't weighed all this stuff, but I'm just letting you know that's very light. So I've learned how to layer, but also go lighter. The next layer is my Enlighten Equipment Toward Apex jacket. I've had this one forever. Oh, guess what? Oh, funny what you find in there. So this is an extra large. I wrote down the weight of it. Let me see what it is. So this is an extra large, and it's only 10.2 ounces. It's a synthetic jacket. I went away from down. Synthetic can get wet up to a certain point and still keep you warm. But down, once it gets wet, the warming properties go away, and it doesn't work unless you can dry it out. So that's why I went to a synthetic jacket, and it's very light. One of the best jackets I've ever owned. I've had it 4 to 5 years, and it's still going strong. Okay, my outer layer, my last and 4th layer is, I'm actually going to upgrade this, so I'll be doing a video on it soon. I'm going to go to a little bit more hardy and a little bit heavier jacket, but this is the Frog Togs UL Extreme jacket. I've had 2 of these. I had a blue one until I tore it on a hike, and this is a new one. It's not very expensive, super light. It's only, let me see what it is. It's 9 ounces for double XL, so super light. It's a little awkward. I'm right next to a sidewalk, and there's a ton of people. You can't see them on camera, but going and staring at me right in the face, so we're going to keep going on that. But anyway, learn how to layer. This is all the upper body stuff I bring. That's all I bring. There's no t-shirts or anything like that. And you know, the lower layer I didn't mention is synthetic, super light, but all 4 of these layers are light, and except for my synthetic jacket, none of them are particularly warm. But when you learn how to layer properly, I've been down to 18 degrees and been toasty warm when I've layered up, because you're trapping air in between each layer. So just think about that. Minimize not only how much weight you carry in clothes, but the physical space it takes up in your pack. I had to get some water. Maybe consider getting a quilt over a sleeping bag. I had a sleeping bag for a long time. The problem is I'm a bigger guy. I'm 6'3", like 230, 240. And I'm a side sleeper. I roll over about every hour when I'm sleeping in a tent. And I would just get wound up, and it was very frustrating. And I would try to re-straighten out my sleeping bag and let a lot of cold in. So I learned about quilts. I was at PCT Trail Days in Cascade Locks, Oregon, a year before I started the PCT, and I learned about quilts. And I was able to physically try out their quilts to get fitted. So I have a 10-degree Enigma quilt. They have 2. They have the Revelation, which has a zipper. I don't have the zipper. It's just more weight, more stuff to deal with, and more things that could fail. I have 2 straps to keep it closed to go around me. But I have a 10-degree, and I have a wide and a long. And that gives me a little space to put things like my water filter and my batteries and my phone on cold nights down on my foot box in my sleeping bag. But when I look at the weight on this, it is a 10 denier, which is, they have different deniers, which is the thickness of the material on the outside and inside of your quilt. I wanted 10. They make it lighter, but I thought it'd be more fragile and maybe tear or wear sooner. So when I look at this, it looks like my quilt is for a long and a wide, and 10 degrees, by the way, is a very warm rated one. It has a lot more feathers, makes it heavier. It's at 27.5 ounces, and when I had a sleeping bag, it was at least double that. The other thing I'll say is that it's much physically smaller. There's probably, where the zipper's gone in the sleeping bag, they've cut out about a foot of the normal sleeping bag out of there. So I don't have the weight of the zipper. I don't have to deal with it. Sometimes they cross-set or it gets stuck and all that. And when I put it in the bottom, as I said before, I put it in the bottom of my pack, it takes up much, much smaller room than my old sleeping bag did. And here it is right here. The down, it looks really big because it's very puffy, but this compresses down to smaller than like a basketball, probably closer to the size of almost a football. So yeah, think about a quilt. 5 is part of the layering system. Remember I showed you how to properly lay 4. The 5th one kind of goes hand in hand with, which is a lot of people has a lot of weight in their rain jacket and in their puffy. Most people have down puffies. I think people are slowly getting more and more synthetic puffies. But as I said, just really quickly, the rain jacket. Let me find my measurements here. The Frog Togs UL Extreme is 9 ounces for a double XL, so that's pretty big. And my synthetic puffy here from Enlightened Equipment, it's a Torrid Apex jacket, is 10.2 ounces. And that's an extra large. And there's kids screaming left and right here. So I apologize for that. I hope that wasn't too loud. But yeah, so just think about that. It goes hand in hand with layering. But even if you don't layer, or even if you do layer, you want to make sure these two, there's a lot of weight. I mean, a lot of people have over 2 or 3 pounds, if not more, in jackets. You can go lighter and still be comfortable and be warm. I know some of you run cold, especially women tend to. So you may have to have another layer or maybe a 5th layer for your laying system. But just keep that in mind. All right, it's getting breezy here, but number 6 is I would suggest saving weight in your air mattress. A lot of people have a lot of weight in their air mattress. I would suggest one of them would be the one I have, which is a Thermarest Neo X Lite. Maybe the Nemo Tensor is a good light one, a good comfortable one. I have this one, and because I am tall, I have the wide and standard length, so it's instead of 20 inches wide, it's 25, and it's still 72 inches long. But I've had, I have had some problems with puncturing them. But it's because I think I'm heavy. I try to be careful when I pick a spot, but these will be a little bit more fragile than some of the heavy-duty off-brand ones. But just think about it. They've made it thicker now. It used to be 2.5 inches thick, now it's 3. So as a side sleeper, my hips don't bottom out and get bruised anymore, so that's good. But just consider it. They are not cheap. This is over $200, but you have to kind of always weigh the weight versus the cost. So just keep that in mind. All right, number 7 is probably the heaviest thing you carry for its size, and that is power banks to recharge your phone and your devices. A lot of people have the Anchor one. I used them. I still have a bunch. I used them forever. This one is a 20,000 milliamp. It weighs 12 ounces. So, not overly huge, but, heavy for its size. One thing I learned was, and I'll explain in a minute why I do what I do. I went to the Nightcore Generation 2 Slim Power Bank, which are these. This is 10,000 milliamp. This is 20. So when you carry two of these, they're 5.35 ounces each. So that's 10.7 ounces over 12, which is not a huge difference. But as we say on trail, ounces lead to pounds. For me, the difference is a few things. These are not cheap. They're like $60 for each one of these. And the reason why they're so light, they're covered in graphite. But when you put them together, it's about the same width, but you can see much physically smaller. So I told you a lot of things I do are for weight, but a lot of things are for the physical size. The reason for that is eventually if you can get all your stuff smaller, you can go to a smaller pack. I went from a 70 liter, now I'm down to 50, and you save a pound or two depending on your backpack on the weight of the actual backpack, and just a physically smaller backpack's easier to deal with. So keep this in mind. The other thing I do that I learned from doing the whole PCT was I carried one of these forever, and sometimes an extra one of these just in case, because I vlog when I'm on trail. But the problem with the bigger ones, 20,000 and bigger, is they take forever to charge. Depending on even if your wall charger is a very fast charging one. But the problem is I go into town sometimes, and let's say I do a Nero and get into town early in the morning, and let's say this is pretty depleted. It would take 10, 12 or more hours to charge these. Now, when you're spending the night in a hotel and you're going to get on trail the next day or take a rest day, you have all the time in the world. But when you want to get in town, get a resupply, get some food, maybe get a shower and laundry, and like a couple, 3 hours, get back on trail, you cannot do it if you expect to get into the next long section. So by having two 10s, these are much faster to charge because they don't take long to charge. So each one of these are like 2 or 3 hours. So I can plug them both in. I have a wall charger that has 4 plugs. I think I'm going to go to a high fast charging one, but each carry 2 plugs that each only have 2 USB plugs. But that's the reason why I carry 2 smaller ones. It's not only lighter and smaller, but much faster on trail to charge. All right, the 8th and final regular tip I want to give you is probably maybe common sense, but is to lighten your load with a tent. Now this can cost you a lot of money. I prefer Z-Packs tents. I started the PCT 5 years ago with a Big Agnes Sil nylon tent, and it did nothing but get drenched and soak and soak. Every time I got in the rain, it was horrible, from the ground up, from the top, the sides, everywhere. So when I was on trail, when I started the PCT, I saw everybody that had a DCF tent, mostly at that time from Z-Packs. they were bone dry even in the biggest rainstorm. So I just swore off seal nylon, and that's a personal choice. I know some of you love it and have it, and it's no problem. DCF is also lighter and it's inherently waterproof. So I have a brand new tent that I actually did I'll try to put it in the description box below or up here in the corner, but I did a first impressions video on this tent. This is the new Z-Packs Offset Duo. So it's a two-person tent. It's their new style. And I also have the ground sheet that goes with it. Now let me look at the weight of this. So the tent is 18.9 ounces. Now I picked the spruce green, which is a thicker, heavier, more durable material than their blue. And this was supposed to be 21.7, but I just weighed it, and it also has the stick that keeps the foot box up. It's like a little extendable stick. This is only 18.9, so it's almost 2 ounces lighter than they said it would be. And then the ground sheet is 3.5 ounces. So together it's only 22.4 ounces. So, you know, kind of look at your tent. How much does your tent weigh? Now, the downfall to this is it's very expensive. It was like, I want to say, I can't remember, but I think this is like $800, like $799, and the ground sheet was like $125. So you're looking at like $925. I was lucky because I had an old triplex, a three-person Z-Packs tent. Had it for almost 4 seasons, and I still sold it for $500. So I really only paid about $400 for this tent. So the resale value, that's one of the perks of these kinds of tents. The resale value is very high as long as you don't damage them, and I take care of my stuff. So yeah. So the other thing is with poles and a bigger physical tent and all that stuff, it's much heavier, but it's also physically much bigger. This is my whole two-person tent. I always put it in the top of my backpack, so when I get to camp, the first thing I do is pull it out and set up my tent. So yeah, a tent, get lighter with the tent. All right, so I promised you 2 bonus tips. Now, these might be a little bit common sense, but you know, I think some of the old school people might not know to think about this on the first one because you know, things in gear and everything progress so much. But I would say go with some trail runners to hike in and backpack in over really heavy boots. Like I said, old school people, they have their boots. You know, the benefit to boots is they some people like the ankle support. They last a lot longer than trail runners. I would say that's their biggest downfall. But these trail runners, I don't mean these specific ones. These are Ultra Lone Peak 6s. But trail runners in general are some of the most comfortable shoes I've ever worn, even not on the trail. They're incredible, especially when they're brand new. Like I said, I'm a bigger guy, so I tend to wear out mine. These are getting there. They're not there yet, but I tend to only get it if I'm through hiking about 400 miles, and then the stack height in the foam is compressed so much they're not comfortable. I start feeling all the rocks through them, and the tread gets so bald that I can tell I'm slipping on rocks and logs and things. Like I can tell they're not gripping the way they normally do. So the other benefit to being light is that you can walk right through river crossings and creeks and things like that where you can't with boots. They dry out very fast. They have ports for the water to drain out of, and your socks and shoes will dry out if it's warm out in an hour or two at the most. So when I was going through the Sierras, I had, you know, multiple stream crossings quite often, and even in Southern California in 19 there was a lot of it was a big winter, so there was a lot of creeks, and I brought sandals to change out in. But after a while, when you know you can see on the app that we use for navigation that they're going to have 30 crossings in 5 miles. Well, I don't want to stop and change shoes so I don't get my shoes wet every time. So this gives you an opportunity to just go right through the creek and keep going. Oh yeah, I just noticed I didn't give you the weight on that shoe. I wear 12.5. I get them a little bigger. I wear normally 12s in real life, but I get them a little big for hiking. They are 10.7 ounces for one shoe. So that's not bad for one shoe that big, 12.5, almost 13. I kind of forgot to give you that one. But okay, our 10th and final one is not a very exciting one, but if we're looking at all-encompassing our kit in general, is your first aid kit. This is mine. I told you I have a ditty bag that holds my first aid kit, my poop kit, and then my electronics kit. And that I put them on the outside of my pack, so during the day if I need any of those, they're right there. I don't have to dig in my pack. This is actually not how big it is normally. I told you I put them in Ziplocs. I'll change out the Ziplocs every year for a new season. But super light, super tough. I use the freezer quartz bag. They're very tough and waterproof. I've got way more stuff in here than I normally carry. I'm going to redo this before this coming summer season. So I wanted to have everything in here so I can kind of go through it and pick and choose what I want. But when I weighed this, let's see what it says. This is overflowing more than I use, and it's 8.3 ounces. I know a lot of people have huge ones. You just have to be honest with yourself. It's hard for me to say you do or don't need things like a snake bite kit or this or that. You got to bring what makes you comfortable. But just keep in mind, like if you are a fairly experienced backpacker and you've brought the same thing over and over and over and you've never used it, you probably don't need it. Just be smart about it. Um, I carry things like tweezers and nail clippers. A lot of people don't, but I have very minimal ones. Let's see if I can even find them in here. I always carry KT tape. Like that's, and I'm actually going to take them out of here, but that's my tweezers. I ordered them off a special ultralight backpacking site. Let me find my clippers. So I got really small nail clippers here. Small as I can find anyway. They probably make smaller, but that's really good, especially if you're on trail a while. Your nails, when you're exercising like you are every day, they really grow fast. A couple more things I'll show you that are small. You don't need a giant knife. People bring big knives. I have this very small knife here. Actually, it's really gross. I got to clean it, but I use it for cheese and meat and string, and that's about it. Very small and light. It's a Spyderco knife. And then lastly, a lot of people cut down their toothpicks, but I found that when you cut them down short, which I did before, you find that when your hands are filthy, which they are a lot, you have your hands in your mouth brushed because it's too short of a handle. So I end up getting a child's length bamboo toothbrush. So it's super light, it weighs nothing. But it's a child's length, but it's still long enough to get it in my mouth without my hands getting there, and just a very small, coarse thing of toothpaste. All right, guys, that's about it. This video is long enough. Thanks for watching that. Some of these are common sense things, but I never know what's common sense or what people know or never seen before. I watched a lot of these videos myself, and I still get new ideas I've never seen, how to minimize and how to get lighter or try something different than the way I'm doing things. So hopefully this is really helpful to you. Of course, there's more ways to lighten up. I have more ways I could show you. I probably could do a whole nother video on 10 more if you want. But you know, and you probably can give me some more ideas of things that you do. It's not about listing every single thing I have. I just wanted to give you 10 good ones. List some more down below that you did or do to lighten up. It will not only educate me, but it will help other people that read the comments. A lot of people learn from reading the comments because people share information. But that's about it. I hope you enjoyed that. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already. About 90% of my people that watch, or the people that watch, are not subscribers. So please consider that. Also, I'll be getting on the trail this summer. I'll be making a video coming up pretty soon that will tell you my plans. I haven't finalized them or got everything laid out the way I'm doing it yet, so I'm not going to make that video till I have it all planned out. But if you'd like to kind of help support the channel, help me when I get on trail, there's ways to do so below in the description box. You can also just help by hitting the like button. That helps a lot for the algorithm, so it goes out to more people. Hit the notification bell in the upper right if you want to be notified every time I have a new video. And that's all I got for you. Thanks for listening. I'm going to get out of this noisy park, and I hope you're having a great day. We'll see you next time. Bye.